Yo, what is up, guys? And today I want to talk about one of the biggest balance adjustments or patch notes that we're going to have coming into effect on the 13th of April, as you can see. Now, there are going to be a total of 7 units being changed and also 2 artifacts as well. Let me say that these changes are going to be some of the best changes that you've seen compared to previous, balance adjustments, which, just really didn't affect the game at all. I think these adjustments will actually have a pretty large impact on the game and definitely make a lot more units usable and a lot more fun to use. So first up on this list is only one Moonlight 5-star, which is pretty rare. Usually Smilegate likes to buff a lot of Moonlight 5-stars at once. But the first one you're going to see on this list is that Moonlight 5-star. It's going to be Last Rider Crow or ML Crow. You're going to see that instead of actually having to get hit by an AoE attack to reduce the cooldown on his S3, it'll just work whenever he gets attacked now. Now, his biggest weakness was that instead of using AoE, you just use single target and focused him down. Even though he was very tanky, you would not actually get to reset his S3 cooldown very easily. But now you're going to see, even if that happens, you're still going to reset your cooldown. And on top of that, guys, if you do get hit by an AoE attack, your skill cooldown on your S3 goes by another turn. So pretty good. Also, the barrier strength on his S2 is going to be buffed, which is very, very nice because the barrier was pretty crappy before, but now it should be a lot better. Next, you're going to see is S3, guys. The cooldown did go up by 1 turn, but overall, it'll still make it come up more faster. And also, you're going to see that this will scale with his own speed. Now, this is very nice because Last Rider Crows are usually built on pretty decent speed, like 220-ish or higher. And you also get speed from your S1 when you use it, so you're going to actually do more damage with your S3 now and hit a lot harder. And the fact that this penetrates defense, guys, will actually make this hit super, super hard now. Yeah, remember I said there was only one Moonlight 5-star? I actually lied. There's actually 2. With this buff on Closer Charles, guys, is pretty decent because, he'll get countered pretty easily by units like Violet, like Rem, anything that counters Cleave. But now that his Descent doesn't actually proc counterattacks anymore, this is very, very nice. So you can actually also use him into counterattacking teams, very similar to the Strays buff that happened before, which disallowed his S3 getting counterattacked, right? Next we have Fire Ken. So first off, being changed is that his S2, instead of needing to kill an enemy with this, you will actually just get the fighting spirit no matter what, which is very, very nice. Now for his S3, guys, you're going to actually start the battle with 40 fighting spirit, but you're actually not going to get any more fighting spirit after, which is kind of a nerf in a way, right? Because of the fact that you're not getting 5 fighting spirit when you attack. But you'll also always get it from your S2 now, so it's a little bit more reliable and won't really make it so that Ken needs to be in the fight for super, super long to actually get enough fighting spirit. So this will make it overall better in shorter fights, but in longer fights, it might be even worse, actually, especially if he is getting focused down. I don't think this is a huge buff. I don't think it'll change much about him and how he is used. Now we have Lilius. So Fire Lilius, guys, pretty crappy right now because of the fact that in PvE, you just use Adventure to Ross. And in PvP, there's just so many good cleansers out there that you don't really need her, and you don't really use her at all. But they have finally buffed her, guys, and changed her kit a bit. You're going to see, first off, she's going to get increased critical hit chance with using her S1 and S3 by 50%, making it so that you can actually build her on a very, very high crit damage and crit chance build without losing out on too much bulk. They're also changing her S2 from an active skill to a passive skill. So basically, it's going to be a non-attack skill trigger. And what happens is she'll dispel herself from 1 debuff and activate Suppression. Now, Suppression is that provoke and barrier, but keep in mind that, this is very, very good because of the fact that this can be used to counter opening units. So for example, guys, this pretty much counters Conquer Lilius because of the fact that if Conquer Lilius decides to S2 Lilius to try to stop her S2 from activating, it won't actually work because Lilius will just cleanse herself and then, provoke the Conquer Lilius. If Conquer Lilius uses her S3, what you'll actually do is activate Suppression against Conquer Lilius, and then Conquer Lilius will be provoked and will not be able to actually use her S2 right after. Not a super hard counter because the Vigor buff still goes up, but you can actually stop Conquer Lilius from taking 2 turns. Now for S3, guys, like I said, critical hit chance is going up. Damage is also going up. This will be very, very nice because of the fact that, like I said, you can actually build her more damage, heavy with crit chance and crit damage very easily without losing that much HP and losing a lot of bulk. This will make her a lot more flexible in her build paths, and I'm very, very excited to test her out. I think most people will actually use her on like a bruiser build now because her S1 actually does pretty decent damage because it scales with her own max HP. You're also always going to be, triggering a dual attack with a random ally, so it'll always be doing decent damage as well. So pretty excited to test out Fire Lilius. Next, we have Ilyonov's changes. So this is long awaited. A lot of people are wondering when she's getting buffed because she was pretty much useless. You only rarely ever used her in like hunt one-shots because of her critical hit damage buff. But you're going to see right now that her damage is going up significantly. So first off, S1, just flat damage increase, always appreciated and nice to have. Next, you're going to see your S2. Instead of getting a defense buff now, you'll actually just do extra damage equivalent to how much damage you did with your injuries or injuries were afflicted. You can actually soul burn this for extra damage as well, making this do a lot more damage. And you'll also see your S3 guys will actually inflict injuries now, which is very, very nice. It was kind of weird that it didn't in the first place. And you're also going to see the injuries does scale with the damage dealt as well, and the damage is going up overall as well. I think Ilyanov, guys, will be definitely worth testing out now because she looks like she can do a lot of damage and put injuries and pressure the enemy very easily. So I'm pretty excited to test her out. I'm definitely going to, build her and try to test her out again. Also, we have Tywin getting buffed. I think he is the last 5-star getting buffed here. Basically, you're going to see that he's going to be a lot more flexible because he's getting a lot more utility. First off, the soul burn is being removed from his S3, which will give him an extra turn to actually his S1. And what this actually does, if I can stop scrolling here, is you can actually have a 100% chance to dispel one buff, nothing too crazy. His S2 is something that's going to be super, super interesting though. So now he doesn't actually do that increased attack and critical hit chance. It's just completely getting reworked, guys. And what's happening after is that he's going to be immune to debuffs, which prevent movement. So he's going to be pretty much immune to like stun and like sleep and stuff like that. You're also going to see when the ally in the back row has a debuff which prevents that movement. After being attacked, you will activate Commanding Shout on that target, and Commanding Shout will actually be activated once every 2 turns on the cooldown. And you'll also see that this will dispel all debuffs from the ally and grant immunity. So very, very good against control-heavy teams or teams with a lot of stuns, which can be very, very interesting. Next, we're going to see his S3, guys. Instead of just giving defense buff to him, it'll be to everyone. It'll actually be to all of his allies now, except that it'll be for 1 last turn, but come on. 2 turns for everyone, way better than 1 or 3 turns to yourself, so pretty huge change. You're also going to see that his exclusive equipments got changed as well because pretty much his entire kit got reworked. Basically now when he S1s, the ally in the back row will get 10% CR, and Commanding Shout's barrier strength will increase by 20%, because you can see that, I didn't mention it, but the barrier will also be applied to that ally that gets affected by Commanding Shout after you awaken it, which is very good. And like I said, debuffs which prevent movement here are going to be stun and sleep. This unit looks pretty cool, a lot of utility, and will be very fun to play with as well. Christy, guys, you're going to see that now she's not going to just have that chance to counterattack. You're going to see that when she has attacked, when the caster does not have a debuff, you'll increase CR of herself and the ally in the background by 20%, so she won't really have that counterattack anymore, but she'll have a lot more CR pushing capabilities. Now for the 2 artifacts getting changed, guys, you're going to see Crown of Glory. This artifact was completely useless, no one ever used it. Now you're going to see that when an ally suffers an attack that targets all enemies or allies, you will decrease the damage suffered and remove 5 souls from the enemy, and you can see that this will be very, very strong. Now this can only activate once per skill, but the fact that this has no like internal cooldown is actually insane. So if you put this on a unit for RTA that, can counter a lot of AoE damage units, if you bring this like against the Bellion, you can stop completely all their soul generation, which is going to be extremely, extremely powerful. Next, we have Ancient Dragon's Legacy. Instead of that flat crit chance, what you're going to see is it's going to decrease skill cooldowns of all allies by 1 turn, and have a chance to increase critical hit damage of the caster, which is the same. But this is insane because that decreased skill cooldown of all allies seems very, very powerful. To activate this, you need to use a non-attack skill, so we'll see who uses this. It might be used on just like any knight that has more than 1 non-attack skill, or even just 1. We'll definitely have to test this out, but this artifact looks pretty amazing. So keep in mind, guys, these changes are happening on the 13th of April. Huge changes overall. I think the biggest changes are like Last Rider Crow here, Fire Lilius, also like Tywin is going to be very fun, Ilyanov is going to be very fun. I think all these units were pretty bad and never really used anymore, so I'm very excited to use them. And even the artifacts, these artifacts were so useless and never used, and finally they are getting some love and some help. I think this is one of the best balance adjustment patches that we've had in a while. They're definitely targeting like units and artifacts that really needed help. Obviously there are more units and artifacts that need help as well, but I think this is a very, very good start because, to be honest, the last few balance patches really felt like it wasn't anything, and it felt like they were taking it into the wrong direction. But I'm very, very happy that Smilegate actually, finally decided to buff the things that need to be buffed, and I'm very happy how they changed Tywin. I think they should do this more often with bad units instead of just trying to buff them to the point where they get strong. Just try reworking their kit and trying to rework their kit to fit the current meta and see if they can get better that way. That being said, I hope this video helped you guys out, guys, and I will see you guys next time, and peace.